Commander Park leaned back in his chair at the Global Defense Command Center, his eyes fixed on the massive holographic display that filled the wall before him. The room hummed with quiet tension as advanced sensors tracked thousands of alien vessels appearing at the edge of the solar system. Each ship materialized in a flash of blue light, like stars being born in reverse. The command center, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, was Earth's most secure military installation. Its walls, reinforced with layers of advanced materials, housed the brightest minds humanity had to offer. The air was cool and crisp, filled with the soft beeping of computers and the whispered conversations of military personnel. Lieutenant Lee, a young officer known for her exceptional skill with the defense grid, monitored her station with unwavering focus. Her fingers moved across the holographic controls with practiced ease, adjusting sensors and collecting data on the incoming fleet. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her uniform bore the patches of Earth's United Defense Force. "Commander," she called out, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "The Craxian fleet is exactly where our predictions placed them. They're holding position just beyond Mars' orbit. I count over 3,000 capital ships and at least twice as many support vessels." Commander Park nodded, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the tactical displays. He had spent 20 years preparing for this moment, ever since the first alien signals were intercepted. The Craxians thought they were being clever, hiding their communications in quantum-encrypted channels, but humanity had broken their codes months ago. "Show me their formation," Park ordered, standing to get a better view of the main display. The hologram shifted, zooming in on the massive alien armada. The Craxian ships were beautiful in their own way. Sleek, curved vessels that looked like they had been grown rather than built. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic sheen that seemed to shift colors in the dim light of distant stars. In the flagship of the Craxian fleet, Supreme Commander Kim stood on his command deck, looking down at the blue-green planet that would soon be his latest conquest. His species was humanoid in appearance, though taller and more slender than the average human. His skin had a slight silver tinge, and his eyes glowed with a faint inner light, a mark of his high rank in the Empire. "Such a primitive world," Kim mused, speaking to his senior staff. "Their most advanced vessels barely leave their atmosphere. Their weapons are crude, their defenses minimal. This will be a swift victory for the Empire." His second-in-command, Captain Newell, approached with a data tablet. "Our scouts report no significant orbital defenses, Supreme Commander. Their military bases are concentrated in predictable locations, and their technology appears to be at least 3 centuries behind our own." Kim allowed himself a small smile. This would be his 100th conquest, a milestone that would surely earn him a seat on the Imperial Council. The humans, despite their reputation for being unusually creative, would fall like all the others before them. Back on Earth, Commander Park received updates from defense stations around the globe. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The Craxians had taken the bait, believing their intelligence gathering had been successful. They had no idea that humans had been preparing for this moment for decades. "Launch the surveillance drones," Park ordered. "Let's give our visitors something to look at." Lieutenant Lee initiated the launch sequence. Hundreds of small, seemingly primitive drones rose from hidden bases around the planet. They were decoys, designed to reinforce the Craxians' belief in Earth's technological inferiority. "Sir," a young analyst called out, "we're detecting energy buildups in the Craxian fleet. They appear to be preparing their weapon systems." Park checked his watch. The timing was perfect. Earth's real defenses remained hidden, waiting for the right moment. The quantum shield grid, the dimensional phase cannons, the AI-driven combat systems, all lay dormant, invisible to Craxian sensors. In space, Supreme Commander Kim watched the human drones with amusement. "Look at their primitive attempts at reconnaissance," he said to his bridge crew. "They still rely on physical probes rather than quantum imaging." He turned to his weapons officer. "Destroy a few of their drones. Let them see how helpless they truly are." Beams of energy lanced out from several Craxian ships, destroying the targeted drones in spectacular explosions. Kim waited for the panic he expected to see from Earth's military commands. Instead, there was only silence. Commander Park watched the destruction of the drones without reaction. They had served their purpose, drawing the Craxians' attention and confirming their tactical preferences. Each burst of alien weapons fire was analyzed by hidden sensors, feeding data to Earth's defense computers. All stations maintain current status, Park ordered. Let them think they have the upper hand. Lieutenant Lee monitored the incoming data with growing excitement. Everything about the Craxian fleet matched their intelligence exactly. Their weapons, their shields, their tactical doctrine. The aliens were falling into a trap centuries in the making. As the sun rose over Earth's eastern hemisphere, casting golden light across the oceans, humanity waited. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin, but only one side knew it. The Craxians saw a primitive world ripe for conquest. They had no idea they were facing an enemy far more advanced and far more dangerous than they could possibly imagine. The invasion was about to begin, but it wouldn't end the way Supreme Commander Kim expected. Humanity had spent generations preparing for this moment, and in the coming hours, the galaxy would learn just how dangerous humans could be when threatened. Commander Park looked at the final readiness reports coming in from around the world. Everything was in place. Now they just had to wait for the Craxians to make their first move. He allowed himself a small smile, knowing that the next few hours would change the course of human history forever. Part 2. First Contact Protocol. The United Earth Council chamber fell silent as screens around the circular room flickered to life. The massive hologram of Supreme Commander Kim materialized in the center of the chamber, his tall figure towering over the seated council members. His silver-tinted skin seemed to shimmer under the chamber's lights, and his glowing eyes swept across the assembled human leaders with barely hidden contempt. The council chamber itself was a marvel of human architecture, built beneath the neutral territory of Antarctica. Its walls were made of transparent diamond composite, revealing the eternal ice that surrounded them. The 70 council members, representing every nation on Earth, sat in tiered seats facing the central platform where General Choi stood calmly. People of Earth, Supreme Commander Kim's voice boomed through the chamber. I am Supreme Commander Kim of the Craxian Empire. Your planet has been chosen to become part of our glorious civilization. His holographic form gestured grandly, clearly expecting awe from his audience. General Choi stood with perfect posture, her military uniform crisp and decorated with the combined service medals of Earth's unified forces. At 60 years old, she had spent most of her life preparing for this moment. Her gray hair was cut short in a practical style, and her dark eyes held a glint of amusement. As you can see, Kim continued, our fleet surrounds your world. We possess technology far beyond your comprehension. Resistance would only result in unnecessary destruction. He paused, clearly expecting signs of fear or submission from the council. Instead, several council members checked their phones or tablets, appearing almost bored. One elderly representative from Africa actually yawned, covering his mouth politely. Kim's expression darkened slightly. This was not the reaction he had anticipated. Your planet will submit or face annihilation, he declared, his voice carrying a harder edge. You have one Earth rotation to respond. General Choi stepped forward, her boots clicking on the polished floor. She smiled, the kind of smile a parent might give to a child making bold claims. Supreme Commander Kim, she said, her voice warm but firm. We have received your message. Before I respond, would you like a cup of tea? The alien commander blinked, clearly thrown off by the casual offer. This is not a social call, human. This is a declaration of war. Yes, I understand that, Choi replied, as an assistant actually brought her a steaming cup of green tea. She took a sip before continuing. But there's no reason we can't be civil about it. After all, it's not every day we get to decline such a generous offer of conquest. Murmurs of laughter rippled through the council chamber. Kim's holographic form seemed to bristle with anger. "You dare mock the might of the Craxian Empire?" "Not at all," Choi said, setting down her cup. "We're simply declining your offer of submission. And yes, perhaps you should review your intelligence on human military capabilities. We wouldn't want you to make any unfortunate assumptions." The council chamber's mood shifted subtly. The earlier boredom was replaced with focused attention, like predators watching prey walk into a trap. "You cannot possibly hope to resist," Kim declared, though a note of uncertainty had crept into his voice. "Our scans show your technology is centuries behind ours. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships can barely reach your own moon." General Choi walked in a slow circle around Kim's hologram. "Tell me, Supreme Commander, have you ever heard the human phrase appearances can be deceiving?" She paused, studying his reaction. "Or perhaps you're familiar with the concept of a false facade." A young council member from Japan leaned forward. "General Choi, perhaps we shouldn't keep the Supreme Commander in suspense. After all, they'll find out soon enough." "Find out what?" Kim demanded, his composure slipping slightly. General Choi returned to her original position. "Supreme Commander Kim, on behalf of the United Earth Council and all of humanity, I have a message for you." She straightened her uniform and looked directly into his glowing eyes. "We choose to decline your generous offer of submission. We suggest you withdraw your forces immediately." "Or what?" Kim sneered, though his confidence seemed forced now. "Or you'll learn why it's unwise to judge a civilization by what they want you to see." Choi's smile never wavered. "You have 1 Earth hour to begin your withdrawal. After that, we cannot guarantee the safety of your fleet." The council chamber erupted in soft chuckles. Kim's hologram flickered as he struggled to process this unexpected response. "This is your final decision. You choose destruction." "No, Supreme Commander," Choi replied. "We choose to defend ourselves. The choice of destruction is entirely yours." She nodded to a technician. "This conversation is over. Good day, Supreme Commander." The hologram vanished, leaving the chamber in momentary silence. General Choi picked up her teacup and took another sip. "Well," she said to the assembled council, "that went about as expected. All defense stations are ready." A series of confirmations came from around the room. Humanity's hidden defenses, carefully concealed for decades, were primed and waiting. The Craxians had no idea that their primitive targets had been planning this moment for generations. "Do you think they'll withdraw?" a council member asked. General Choi shook her head. "No, their pride won't allow it. But that's exactly what we planned for." She turned to her communications officer. "Send the alert to all commands. Operation Thunderstrike begins in 1 hour." As the council members rose to move to their secure positions, General Choi looked up at the ice ceiling above them. Somewhere up there, the Craxian fleet was probably preparing for what they thought would be an easy conquest. They were about to learn a very important lesson about humanity. Never judge a species by what they want you to see. Sometimes, the most dangerous predators are the ones that look harmless until it's too late. Part 3. The Hidden Arsenal. Deep within the moon's core, in a facility known as Luna Base Alpha, Captain Song stood in the primary control chamber. The room was a marvel of human engineering, its walls lined with quantum computers and holographic displays. The air was cool and filled with the soft hum of advanced machinery that most humans didn't even know existed. Captain Song placed his hand on the main control panel, a sleek black surface that glowed with a soft blue light. His palm print and DNA triggered the activation sequence for humanity's greatest secret, the quantum defense grid. The system had been built in absolute secrecy over the past 50 years, piece by piece, hidden from both Earth's population and any watching alien eyes. "Begin activation sequence," Song commanded, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Authorization code. Prometheus rising. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. Lieutenant Park monitored the power systems as they came online, while Officer Kim tracked the status of thousands of hidden satellites scattered throughout the solar system. Each satellite had been carefully positioned and cloaked using technology that humanity had kept hidden from their own space programs. Power levels at optimal range, Lieutenant Park reported. Quantum core stable and responding. In space, the previously invisible satellites began to power up. Each one was a masterpiece of human engineering. A combination of weapons platform, defensive shield generator, and quantum communication relay. They had been placed in a complex three-dimensional grid pattern that covered not just Earth, but the entire inner solar system. Captain Song watched as the status indicators turned green one by one. "Begin Phase 1 activation," he ordered. "Maintain stealth protocols until all units are online." On his main display, he could see the Craxian fleet still holding position near Mars. They had no idea what was about to hit them. The alien sensors, advanced as they were, had been designed to look for known types of technology. The quantum grid operated on principles that the Craxians had never encountered. "Sir," Officer Kim called out, "we're detecting increased activity in the Craxian fleet. They appear to be preparing for their invasion run." In his flagship, Supreme Commander Kim was reviewing his battle plans one final time when his sensor officer suddenly shouted in alarm. "Supreme Commander." Multiple energy signatures appearing throughout the system. Kim rushed to the tactical display, his glowing eyes widening as thousands of new contacts began appearing on his screens. "What is this?" he demanded, watching as more and more signatures erupted across the display. "Why wasn't this in our intelligence reports?" His sensor officers scrambled to analyze the new threats, but their equipment couldn't make sense of what they were seeing. The energy signatures didn't match any known technology in the Imperial database. Back in Luna Base Alpha, Captain Song received the transmission from General Choi. "Phase 1 is green." Her voice came through clearly on the quantum comm. "You may proceed with full activation." Song nodded to his crew. "Disengage stealth protocols. Bring all weapons and defensive systems online." The quantum grid surged to life. Each satellite began emitting a soft blue glow as their defensive shields powered up. The shield network was designed to create an interlocking web of quantum fields that could redirect or absorb any known form of energy weapon. "All systems operational," Song reported to General Choi. "The grid is ready." In space, Supreme Commander Kim watched in growing horror as his tactical display continued to light up with new contacts. The human satellites were now clearly visible, their energy signatures revealing weapon systems that should have been centuries beyond Earth's capability. "This is impossible," Kim muttered, staring at the display. Their technology was primitive. We saw their space stations, their satellites. "Sir," his tactical officer interrupted, "we're detecting energy readings we've never seen before. The human defense grid appears to be using some form of quantum technology that's not in our database." The proud Supreme Commander felt the first stirrings of real fear. His intelligence reports had shown Earth as a developing civilization, barely able to reach their own moon. But the defense grid before him spoke of technology that rivaled or exceeded the Craxian Empire's best weapons. In Luna Base Alpha, Captain Song allowed himself a small smile as he watched the Craxian fleet's confusion. Decades of secrecy and preparation were finally paying off. Humanity had hidden their true capabilities, showing the galaxy only what they wanted to be seen. A young, struggling civilization taking its first steps into space. "Status report on all grid systems," Song ordered. "Weapon systems at full power," Officer Kim reported. "Shield generators operating at optimal efficiency. Quantum communication network fully operational. We're ready for Phase 2, sir." Captain Song opened a channel to General Choi. "General, the hidden arsenal is fully deployed, ready to begin Operation Thunderstrike on your command." The quantum defense grid, humanity's secret weapon, hung in space like a web of light, waiting to show the Craxian Empire just how badly they had underestimated Earth. The real battle was about to begin, and only one side was truly prepared for what was coming. The time for hiding was over. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity could really do. Part 4. Operation Thunderstrike. Colonel Han stood in the Himalayan Command Center, carved deep within the heart of the mountains. Massive view screens covered the walls, showing real-time tactical displays of the solar system. The center's location, hidden beneath tons of rock and protected by advanced shielding, made it the perfect place to launch humanity's counterattack. All stations, report status. Han commanded, her voice carrying across the command center. The room hummed with energy as officers coordinated Earth's hidden fleet. Dimensional pocket drive stable, reported Major Ryu from his station. All ships ready to emerge on your command. The human fleet had been Earth's greatest secret. Hundreds of warships, hidden in artificial pocket dimensions around the solar system, waited for the order to strike. Each vessel carried weapons and defensive systems that had been developed in absolute secrecy, far from prying alien eyes. Combat systems online, Lieutenant Shin announced. All battle computers synchronized and ready. The AI systems were unlike anything the Craxians had ever encountered. While the aliens relied on traditional targeting computers, Earth's ships were guided by quantum AI that could think and react faster than any organic being. Colonel Han took a deep breath. Execute Operation Thunderstrike, she ordered, her voice steady. All units, commence attack pattern Delta. The response was immediate. Throughout the solar system, dimensional rifts opened like tears in space itself. From these rifts emerged Earth's true fleet, sleek, dark vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their hulls were covered in geometric patterns that pulsed with subtle energy. Supreme Commander Kim's first warning came when his sensor officers started shouting in panic. Multiple spatial anomalies detected. One officer yelled, "Unknown vessels emerging. They're everywhere." Kim rushed to his tactical display, his glowing eyes widening in shock. Where moments ago space had been empty except for his fleet, now hundreds of human warships were appearing from nowhere. They emerged in perfect formation, their positions cutting off every possible escape route. "Impossible," Kim whispered. "Their technology. This can't be." In the Himalayan Command Center, Colonel Han watched the Craxian fleet's reaction with satisfaction. "All ships, engage as planned. Show them what we can really do." Earth's vessels opened fire simultaneously. But instead of conventional weapons, they unleashed technologies that the Craxians had never seen. Quantum phase beams cut through alien shields like they weren't there. Dimensional torpedoes created localized rifts that tore Craxian ships apart at the atomic level. "Target their command ships first," Han ordered. "Don't let them coordinate a response." The AI systems controlling Earth's fleet moved with impossible precision. They anticipated Craxian maneuvers before they happened, positioning human ships exactly where they needed to be. It was like watching a deadly dance, choreographed by machines that fought in quantum states. Supreme Commander Kim watched in horror as his carefully planned formation began to crumble. "Return fire," he ordered. "Launch all fighters. Counter-attack pattern Sigma." But the Craxian weapons seemed to have no effect. Human ships either absorbed the energy attacks or simply weren't where they appeared to be when the shots arrived. Their dimensional shifting technology made them nearly impossible to hit. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, voice shaking, "we've lost contact with the entire third battle group. The humans are using some kind of weapon that tears ships apart from the inside out." In the command center, Colonel Han received damage reports from the fleet. The quantum shields were holding perfectly. Not a single human ship had been lost. The years of preparation, the countless hours of AI combat simulations, were paying off exactly as planned. "Move to Phase 2, Han ordered. "Deploy the quantum net." Earth's ships began emitting strange energy fields that connected between vessels, forming a complex web of quantum energy. The Craxian fleet found itself trapped inside this web, their engines struggling against forces they didn't understand. "What are they doing to us?" Kim demanded as his flagship systems began to fail. "How do they have this technology?" Colonel Han allowed herself a small smile as she watched the Craxian fleet's predicament. "Send the message," she ordered. Throughout the Craxian fleet, every communication system suddenly activated. Colonel Han's voice reached every alien ship simultaneously. "Supreme Commander Kim, this is Colonel Han of Earth's Defense Forces. Your fleet is now trapped in a quantum containment field. Your weapons are useless, your engines are failing, and you have nowhere to run. Surrender now, or we will be forced to demonstrate even more of our capabilities." The command center fell silent as they waited for the response. On the tactical displays, the Craxian fleet hung motionless in space, caught in humanity's trap. Their mighty warships, which had conquered countless worlds, were now helpless before Earth's hidden arsenal. Supreme Commander Kim stared at his tactical display, watching as more and more of his ships went dark. The humans had played them perfectly, hiding their true strength until the perfect moment to strike. His mighty invasion fleet, which had seemed so overwhelming just hours ago, was now facing complete destruction. Colonel Han watched the Craxian ships with practiced calm. Operation Thunderstrike had gone exactly as planned. Humanity had revealed only a fraction of their true capabilities, and it was already more than enough to defeat the alien fleet. "All ships maintain current positions," she ordered. "Let them consider their options. They have 5 minutes to surrender before we move to Phase 3. The battle that was supposed to last months had taken less than an hour. Humanity had just shown the galaxy that appearances could be very deceiving indeed. Part 6. Surrender Protocol. Supreme Commander Kim stood on the bridge of his crippled flagship, watching as Earth's warships maintained their perfect formation around his trapped fleet. His once mighty armada hung powerless in space, caught in the humans' mysterious quantum field. Warning lights flashed across every control panel, and the ship's AI reported multiple system failures. "Status report," he demanded, though he already knew the answer. His second-in-command, Captain Yule, looked up from his damaged console. "Sir, we've lost 40% of our fleet. The rest are trapped in the humans' containment field. Our weapons are useless, engines are dead, and we can't even maintain stable life support for more than a few hours." Kim closed his glowing eyes for a moment. In all his years of conquest, he had never faced such a complete defeat. The humans had outmaneuvered them at every turn, using technology that shouldn't have been possible for their civilization to possess. "Open a channel to all frequencies," he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. The communication officer complied, hands shaking slightly as he worked the controls. Supreme Commander Kim straightened his uniform, determined to maintain some dignity in defeat. "This is Supreme Commander Kim of the Craxian Empire," he broadcast, his voice reaching every ship in both fleets. We surrender unconditionally to Earth forces." In the Antarctic command chamber, General Choi received the transmission with a calm demeanor. The United Earth Council members sat in silence, watching the historic moment unfold. Outside their transparent walls, the eternal ice reflected the glow of status screens. "Verify the transmission," Choi ordered. "Check for any hidden signals or attempts at deception." After a moment, Lieutenant Lee nodded. "Transmission verified, General. The surrender appears genuine. Their fleet is completely immobilized by our quantum net." General Choi stood, adjusting her uniform. She had waited decades for this moment, helping to plan and prepare Earth's defenses since she was a young officer. Now, their strategy had paid off perfectly. "Open return channel," she commanded. The communication system hummed to life. "Supreme Commander Kim, this is General Choi of Earth's Defense Forces. Your surrender is accepted. All remaining Craxian ships will power down weapons and prepare for boarding." In the Himalayan Command Center, Colonel Han coordinated the boarding operations. "Deploy the containment teams," she ordered. "Full quantum suppression protocols in effect. No chances." Earth's boarding ships moved with precision, their crews protected by advanced shielding technology. They approached the Craxian vessels methodically, securing each ship with practiced efficiency. On the Craxian flagship, Supreme Commander Kim watched as human troops materialized directly onto his bridge through some kind of advanced teleportation technology. Their armor was sleek and black, covered in the same geometric patterns as their ships. Supreme Commander Kim, the human squad leader, addressed him. "Please surrender your command codes and accompany us. Your crew will be treated according to Earth's military protocols." Throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out as Earth forces took control of the remaining Craxian ships. The alien crews, already shocked by their rapid defeat, offered no resistance. In the Antarctic chamber, General Choi addressed the United Earth Council. "The war that was supposed to last years has ended in just under 4 hours," she announced. Operation Thunderstrike was a complete success. The council members broke into applause, but Choi raised her hand for silence. "This is just the beginning," she continued. "Today, humanity has revealed a fraction of our true capabilities to the galaxy. Our next steps will be crucial." Reports began flowing in from the boarding teams. The Craxian technology, which they had thought so superior, was being systematically analyzed and contained. Earth's scientists were already discovering ways to improve upon the alien designs. Supreme Commander Kim, now under guard in a holding cell, stared through a force field at his human captors. "How?" he finally asked. "How did you hide all of this from us?" The guard, a young lieutenant, smiled slightly. "Simple," she replied. "We showed you what you expected to see. Your empire's greatest weakness was its arrogance. The war that should have been the Craxian Empire's greatest conquest had become their most humiliating defeat. In just 4 hours, humanity had not only defended themselves, but had also established their position as a major power in the galaxy." As the sun set over Earth, General Choi looked at the final battle reports. The cost had been minimal. Not a single human ship lost. No casualties among Earth's forces. Their years of preparation, their patience in hiding their true strength, had paid off perfectly. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The species that had pretended to be primitive had revealed itself to be one of the most advanced civilizations in known space. The Craxian surrender wasn't just the end of a war. It was the beginning of a new era for humanity. The 4-hour war, as it would come to be known, had changed everything. And humanity was ready for whatever came next. Part 7. Aftermath and Reflection. The Grand Hall of the Craxian High Council towered above Supreme Commander Kim as he stood before the assembled leaders of his empire. The circular chamber, with its soaring crystal spires and floating platforms, normally inspired awe. Today, it felt more like a court of judgment. Kim had spent 3 Earth months in human custody before being released to make his report. The experience had changed him profoundly. His once proud posture was now humble, and his glowing eyes had dimmed slightly, a sign of deep shame among his people. "Honorable Council," he began, his voice echoing in the vast chamber, "I stand before you to report on the greatest military defeat in our empire's history. The 4-hour war, as it is now known, was not just a failure of our forces, but a failure of our understanding." The council members stirred uneasily. Many had watched the battle recordings with disbelief, seeing their mighty fleet rendered helpless by human technology. "We gravely underestimated human technological capabilities," Kim continued. "They allowed us to believe they were primitive while preparing defenses beyond our comprehension. Their deception was perfect, and our arrogance made us blind." He activated a holographic display, showing the human quantum defense grid in action. The council members watched in silence as the seemingly primitive Earth vessels emerged from dimensional pockets and systematically dismantled the Craxian fleet. "Their technology exceeds ours in many areas," Kim explained. "Their quantum manipulation abilities, their AI systems, their dimensional engineering, all of it hidden behind a carefully constructed facade of primitive spaceflight and basic satellites." In his mind, General Choi's words from their first meeting echoed again. "The greatest mistake any military can make is assuming their intelligence is complete." How right she had been. Meanwhile, on Earth, The United Earth Council was holding its own session. General Choi stood before the assembled representatives, presenting her report on the aftermath of the war. The Craxian Empire has withdrawn all claims to Earth space, she announced. Furthermore, they have agreed to significant diplomatic concessions. Earth is now recognized as a major galactic power. The council chamber erupted in applause. Humanity's careful planning had paid off beyond their wildest expectations. Their strategy of hiding their true capabilities while building up their strength had worked perfectly. But this is just the beginning. Choi continued once the applause died down. Other alien civilizations are watching us now. The facade of primitiveness we maintained for so long has been lifted. We must be prepared for what comes next. Across the galaxy, news of the 4-hour war spread rapidly. Species that had dismissed humanity as barely worth noticing suddenly found themselves reevaluating their assessments. The primitive humans had defeated one of the galaxy's most powerful empires in just 4 hours. Trading stations buzzed with discussions of Earth's true capabilities. Rumors spread about other hidden human technologies, causing several aggressive species to reconsider their expansion plans near Earth space. Back in the Craxian Council chamber, Supreme Commander Kim concluded his report. "We must adapt to this new reality," he said. "Earth is not just another world to be conquered. They are now a major power, and their technology continues to advance." The High Council debated for hours after Kim's presentation. Finally, they reached a decision that would have been unthinkable months before. The Craxian Empire would seek a formal alliance with Earth. In her office overlooking the Antarctic ice, General Choi reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Other alien civilizations were scrambling to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted dramatically, just as they had planned. A young aide entered with a message. "General, the Craxians are requesting an alliance." Choi smiled, remembering Supreme Commander Kim's face when she had offered him tea during his surrender. "Tell them we'll consider their proposal," she said. "After all, we should be gracious in victory." The 4-hour war became a legend throughout the galaxy, taught in military academies on 1,000 worlds. It was a lesson in the dangers of underestimating an opponent, and a reminder that appearances could be deceiving. Humanity had emerged from its chrysalis of perceived primitiveness into a butterfly of technological might. The species that many had dismissed as primitive had proven themselves to be anything but. And as Earth's true capabilities continued to be revealed, the galaxy watched with a mixture of fear and respect. The age of human deception was over. The age of human leadership had begun. ****.